So at my dad's house, we got two cats. Their names are Charlie and Lilu. But for this story, the important one is Charlie. I will make a whole separate video about my other cats. But anyways, Charlie is one of those cats who love adventuring and nature. Like, you could see him leave the house, and then 5 hours later, he'll come back for some food. Maybe you give him a few pets, and then he leaves again for another couple of hours. So this one day during winter, we let Charlie out and we didn't see him for a few hours, which was normal. But then we left to go get a Christmas tree with our grandparents because they came to visit. So we got our Christmas tree, but when we came back, it was a little bit dark out and we didn't see Charlie, which I thought was kind of weird but somewhat normal because he goes out all the time. So we went in and we got dinner, and by then it was really dark, and that's when we started to get nervous for Charlie. So me and my stepmom went outside to see if maybe he was hiding from the winter cold or something like that. But when we went out and started looking, we heard meowing from the mountains. And something you should know about our old house is that we're surrounded by extremely tall, steep hills that for this story I'm just going to call mountains. And on these really tall mountains, there are really tall trees. So we're looking into the pitch black of this forest and hearing this poor cat crying and meowing like super loud, almost begging us to climb up the mountain and get him. But at that point, we didn't know why he was up there and why he couldn't come back. So we started walking toward the mountain to see if we could start pinpointing where the meows were coming from. And when we got right up close to the mountain, we finally pinpointed where the meows were coming from. And then this is when we realized that he was stuck in a tree. So now we knew what the problem was, a good old cat stuck in the tree stereotype. But now we needed to figure out what we were going to do about it. First, it was pitch black. Second, it was winter. And third, it was like 10:30 p.m. and we were all very tired. So we decided that we were not going to go up there that night. It was actually kind of a tough decision to leave a cat who was like basically begging us to go up there to leave him for the night. But it was our best course of action because we couldn't really climb up the mountain in pitch black. Like, it would be useless. So we went back inside and we went to sleep while our stepmom came up with a plan. So that morning we were ready to hear her plan. So what she came up with was us four, my stepmom, me, and my two brothers, Ducky and Malik. We're going to take a ladder and a big net that we made out of a cat carrier and a light bulb pole to get him down. And we were going to try and work together to climb up with all the supplies on the steep part of the mountain. So after we came up with the plan, we got our winter gear on, grabbed our supplies, and we were ready to start our journey. So we start making our way. But our first obstacle happened at the very beginning of the climb. You see, the hill that Charlie got stuck on is super steep. Like, so steep that the four of us couldn't carry a ladder and a net up. So what we decided to do was we were going to go down the hill a little bit because we were located like in the middle of the hill. So we were going to go down to a less steep part and then climb around and then climb up the side of the mountain so it's less steep and we could actually get a ladder up. So we do that, and after a little bit of a struggle trying to get the ladder up the steep part because it was still a little bit steep, we finally got the ladder up, and now we can start making the 20-minute trail up to the hill. And then we finally made it with the help of the navigation skills of Charlie crying. It sounds kind of dark, but his meows and cries did help us pinpoint where he was. So anyways, we get to the tree in which Charlie is stuck up, and this is when our second obstacle came. The tree was too tall for our ladder. Not to mention, the hill is still pretty steep, so even if the ladder was tall enough, someone wouldn't be able to climb up it because the ladder would just fall over. But good news is we did have the cat carrier net, so one of us was going to have to climb up the ladder to the very top and reach as far as they can to get up there. So, of course, we made our stepmom do it. So while she was climbing up the ladder using the cat carrier, me and my two other brothers were holding the ladder, making sure she didn't fall. So she goes up, and by the way, you have to go on the second to last step of the ladder, which is pretty scary, especially when you're on a very steep hill. So my stepmom's up there, and she's using the cat carrier pole to try and get Charlie in. But this is when our third obstacle came. Charlie would not go inside the cat carrier. And since the ladder is on a very steep hill and it's very nerve-wracking, my stepmom got very stressed and she made the quick decision to sort of punch Charlie with the carrier and force him onto another branch, and then he could just climb up on the ladder. But what ended up happening was when she pushed Charlie with the carrier, he finally got in. But since we jerry-rigged this carrier that morning, it wasn't the most effective thing. So when he jumped in the carrier bag, it sort of like tipped over, making him like forced to fall. And then my stepmom had to make the very like quick like reaction time to climb down the ladder super fast so he could jump onto the ladder and then get down safely. So Charlie, he fell and then he finally landed on the ladder and then climbed down. But since, cats, they're very skittish, and this was like probably the most like insane thing and crazy experience that he's ever been through, he booked it down the mountain. And we were kind of annoyed because we were like hoping that he would be like a damsel in distress, like, "Oh, you saved me, thank you." But nope, he just booked it. So we were a little annoyed, but we were glad that he was safe. And he made it back home, which was good. So we grabbed our supplies and took another like 10 minutes down. It's quicker to go down a mountain than up a mountain. So we went down, and then we went to the door, and he was there. So we opened it, and we gave him some food. But this is when the story gets kind of funny. So we let him in after a whole night of like outside and like terror and outside at night is scary. So he just went through this, and we gave him food and thought he would just stay inside. But nope, after 5 minutes of being inside, he was at the door meowing and crying for us to let him out again. Like, bro, we just went through an hour of suffering to get you down there, and you don't even care? So we let him out, but good news is he never went up a tree ever again. And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Make sure to subscribe and like, and